Woo. Welcome back, me immortal lights, to another session of Meanderings. You've got Juan from Australia here.
And Kyron in Brazil, also from Australia.
Also from Australia, but residing in Brazil for the moment. 30th of June if you're here in Australian time, if you're listening to it live. 29th if you're over in the, Western
Brazil,
world, Eastern world, at least from my perspective. Brazil, USA, any of those places. Although I was having a look at some of our stats on YouTube. No, not YouTube. It was on the audio side of things.
Oh, yeah?
On the book reviews. And I think it's
France, right?
20-something%. Well, France is the top, weirdly. And then US is the next one up. So
I think
predominantly...
I think there's it doesn't show all the stats in there because I was like fine tuning things and going down them like minutely. I could see it said Australia had more views than the US, even though it didn't show up on the chart. So I think that chart doesn't show all the countries.
Oh, misinformation for sure. Now, this session, Meanderings, is just a chance for us to really just talk about things that have been on our mind, things that have been of interest, anything that we've pulled out from a learnings perspective. A long time ago, we were doing what was called, I guess, musings. Musings on a specific topic. There's a little bit more broad-based, still trying to have deep conversations with lighthearted touches. And I guess I wanted to talk about one of the things that has been the predominant from my side, and it's in the title, I guess, of this particular conversation, which was walking. Walking. I found myself, I'll give it a time and place, probably the start of June, that I was beginning to think. I was like, oh, okay, I've got the new annual goals that are coming up. And I can't remember if I told you this or not, or who I said this to, but I wasn't overly excited. Like, I wasn't excited.
Yeah, you told us that.
New annual goals, which wasn't the usual feeling that I'd had over the last few years. And I actually opened up in my master spreadsheet that I have. I actually went back and opened up the 27-year-old, 28-year-old, 29-year-old annual goals, just to have a review back of, oh yeah, that's what I was focusing in back then, and that's what I was doing, and oh wow, like, you know, that's been now like completely overpassed by the stuff that I'm doing now, which was really cool, just to try and give me some maybe energy and excitement for the new one. But still, that didn't trigger it. And it wasn't until I got, it wasn't until I actually got, it's not injured, just like grazed my legs together from running too far. That
Lucas in the chat says, yep, Juan, I think a walk is better for you. Karen told me you were getting old boy. Coming in firing.
This is the it's kind of although the crazy and the sad thing for Lucas and Karen is that if one actually probably put in
Here it comes.
3 months worth of effort into handstands only, then I would like decimate them completely. In fact, Miguel wouldn't even hold a bar to my skills. But the reality was, after that, like, you know, again, after just grazing my legs and not really able to run for a week or so, I went for a walk, and it ended up being a really gigantic walk. Now, I guess as a point here for most mere mortalites, and I guess for Karen, think about it in the back of your mind. If something equivalent to something like what I'm going to describe, you either do consciously or it has happened unconsciously. But for me, I threw on my headphones. I listened onto a little bit of podcast at the beginning of the walk, but then I went like, oh, you know what? I just want to unwind. I just want to relax. I just want to listen to some music. That's what I want to listen to. And it was more, I don't know if you remember Suicide Sheep type music, which is just, I guess, melodic, tonal, just soft. I'll go soft, somber, maybe that type of music.
It had some drum D&B, didn't it? Drum and beat as well. It's like it was a little bit electronical, wasn't it? Suicide Sheep.
Yeah, look, Suicide Sheep did do that. So like it wasn't exactly Suicide Sheep, but it was like that, but even like, let's go softer, and more
lo-fi,
softer
maybe.
And slower, that type of music. Yeah. And in any case, the walk in total, I would have done 40 minutes probably on my own, and then another half hour
by the river.
The So-So Saturday run, correct, by the river. So it was all walking, right? It was over an hour of walking, and 5 minutes in, whatever. I was just listening to music, kind of annoyed that I wasn't listening to a podcast because I wanted to be doing something, right? The active mind. And then it came kind of like that unlock of letting the mind wander, not particularly being focused in on doing something like an activity in general, that just it all burst through in terms of all these ideas for the annual goals. It just sort of steamrolled through. It was pretty crazy. Like one moment I was kind of not complaining, but just annoyed in my mind if I wanted to listen to that particular part of the podcast, or I want to like be learning this, or I'm annoyed that I can't run. And then it became, oh shit, here's this annual goal, here's this annual goal, here's this, oh yep, cool. And then it started going into, okay, now I know exactly, I've been thinking about that I wanted to do this more philosophical reels, and wasn't sure how I was going to do it. And all of a sudden it was hey, awesome. I know exactly how I'm going to do this. Yep. This is how and you get almost that energy that made me want to be like, I want to go home right now and just start writing this down or creating them. So there was that. Another aspect, which I'm still toying with the idea of whether I'm going to do it or not, of, you've heard the concept of, like some people call it storyboarding, some people call it like creating a wall of your goals and stuff like that. So not that, because I think that's not very precise, not very good, but maybe for the first time setting a 5-year vision, if you will, of what it would look like, something different to the eminent goals. And the reason why I was thinking that was more so that my eminent goals are not time-based at all. They're just pursuits, I guess, which is nice to have, but having a particular time domain definitely helps as well. Obviously having a kid, it's very different to kind of consider what your life is going to be like when they're in preschool or they're going to be in school, and how does your day suffice versus just being an absolute free bird. So I think now is it's a change in I guess timing and the things that I do in that regard. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff that came out of that particular walk, but I went, damn, it took one bloody walk of just a little bit over an hour without focusing on anything in particular to release a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I wanted to do. And honestly, I could only put it down to one, probably just having a lot of weeks, I'm not going to say days, a lot of weeks where it was just, there was a lot of activities, there was a lot of doing in a good way, but it was all tactical. It was all, okay, today I've got to run 20 meetings and I've got 14 calls and I've got to reply to 100 emails and I've got to do the bedtime routine and I've got to go cook dinner and I've got to go get all the things that you have to do to exist in life or to participate in the space that you're living in. But because it was the first time, I guess I allowed a big block of time where it was just think, it then allowed the mind to wander and bring in all these good ideas, which I went, damn, that was really good. So to you, Kyron, do you consciously find yourself time to do that? Is this not a thing that you need because you maybe already incorporate as part of your life day to day or week to week or month to month?
I'm already lazy as fuck, man. So I got oodles of time to to just nah, that's not entirely true. I am definitely a little bit lazy. I've been repeating this often for the last 2 months. It's one of those ones where it's like, you know, people who just say they just say something but they never actually do it. I've been a little bit guilty of that, where I'm like, I should sit down and stare up at the stars more. And I've been saying that. And sometimes this works because, manifestation and all that sort of stuff. Although I don't believe in it in that sense, I also do believe that there is something about getting thoughts out of your head, and even like the laziest way of putting them out, whether it be just saying it out loud, or if you go into the more standard ways of doing things, of actually writing it down and creating a proper tracking method of trying to do something. That's the better way. But I've been doing the ultimate laziest version of this, which is I need to stare up at the stars more and just chill out. And, I did a little bit of that when I was on the retreat with Lucas doing the handstands, and joining the yoga again has been good because, well, you kind of do that because you just lay down there for a little bit, especially at the end of a session. And I've joined a really good yoga studio here. It's called Ogge, Ogge, and it's just it's really cool vibe. They're letting us train there as well, so I can escape the the fucking bugs, man. Ugh. That's honestly
Lot
my
of bugs?
biggest. Just these little. They're not mosquitoes, but they're like, I guess you'd call them midgies or sandflies or something like that. But they eat me. They eat me good, man. They love me. They love green. Everyone loves gringos. Everyone loves me. And they've been tearing me apart, man. Absolutely tearing me apart. And getting to train in the space has really been good. And the yoga is at a really good level for me because the teacher Nahima, she's one of those ones where it's like she accommodates everyone, so you can be really beginner, but the moves you can make it as hard as you want, and she gives those really hard ones for me. So I've been enjoying that. But yeah, just sitting. I think that's a version of kind of my version of that, less active, more chilling out. I've got a question for you, which is, on any of these walks, have any of these walks ever turned into a negative thing, as in you get trapped in your own head thinking about things and it's actually kind of an unpleasant, unproductive, unhelpful experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, is the answer. Because it's always, and because this is going to be the other part of the story I was going to bring up, I tried to replicate it. So obviously the first time I was able to go on this long walk, I really, really did enjoy it. And I got all these great ideas from it, right? Then yesterday, I went to go and do a similar thing. So by mistake, and Karen, you'll love this, by mistake, I woke up at 3:50 instead of 5 when I was supposed to. We go for a run at 6. So I thought, oh, well, fuck it. I'll just get up anyways. So I got up and I went down to the riverside, basically again, walked. And, well, the original idea is maybe I'll go down there and jog and before the actual 5-kilometer run. But I thought, you know what? I really enjoyed that walk I did the other day and listening to music. Maybe I'll try to do that again. Let's go do that. Threw in the headphones, went for a 56-minute walk. It was this time around. And it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same in that no brilliant new ideas came. And I could throw it up to a couple of things. Maybe one, I set the expectation that it was going to be like the last walk. That could be one thing. Two, it could be that maybe it was too close together. So I'd already kind of got all this maybe stored ideas that were sitting in the underlying, consciousness, so subconscious, that sort of come out, and there wasn't anything new to extract from there. Although there were some things that I was able to maybe dial in or nail down, but it wasn't equivalent to the previous walk. But it would never. So, but in saying that particular walk, nor in previous occurrences that I can think of, do I ever get myself into a negative self-talk, or in my mind that I shouldn't have done this or I should have done that. I never, and I guess it probably goes more to me, because as far back as I can remember, I've never been a person that has generally done that, to reminisce too hard or sit on a particular idea that either went well or not well for that longer time. Maybe because I'm more defaulting to want to take actions or do things, and I think that's where I get impatient, right? Of if I'm going on a walk and if I get a good idea or I'm wherever, I want to go do that now. Go. Versus sitting there and being stuck in negative or a bad thought pattern. So that second walk, it wasn't as productive, but it was neutral. Like, it was good. It was calming. It was good. Nice to listen to the music. Had some fun thoughts, but no negative stuff. Nothing that sort of like felt like I was locked in my mind and wasn't a good activity to do. It was just neutral.
Yeah, I asked that because what has been my regular routine at the moment has usually been, depends on the date, but in general, it'll be chill out here in the mornings. I'll read some of this Portuguese book, try and get some of that done. Just, general life things, sorting flights and, where I'm going to get next, cooking, buying, shopping, whatever. Just something in the morning. And then I'll usually take an Uber to the studio where we train. And man, this was the other thing I forgot to say about the girl from the previous episode, which is Ubers here are so cheap, man. I've spent probably
Oh, really?
35 minutes of time traveling there and back, and I think it cost me $11 in total. I spent almost more on tips for the drivers because they were chatty and cool.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, Ubers here are ridiculously cheap. So and anyway, I take an Uber there. I train with Lucas, and then typically I walk home in the evenings. And some of the walks have been great. Like you, I can't replicate things. I feel like I've done almost the exact same routine. I'm walking at almost the exact same amount of time. And one day it was a mental battle to not throw myself in the river and drown myself, because it was just I was just like, fuck, man, you're here, but your Portuguese is still so shit. You still can't talk to girls. You had a shit training session. Like, your hands are never gonna fix themselves. Blah blah blah. You know, all the stuff, which is. If I try and break through with logic, it doesn't work usually. It usually, sometimes it needs something just needs to fade away. At times I have been able to break through this with a bit of a win by thinking of like all the stuff that I've done in the past, which says contrary to all the negative things that is going through my head. But usually, man, I just have to kind of ride the wave and I know that I'll get better in, probably like 3 hours time, but just during that walk when I've got nothing else going on, even if I'm listening to a podcast, like I'll, when you listen to things, but you're not listening to it and you're just thinking instead, that'll be going on. And then the next day or 3 days later, I'll be going and I'll be happy. I'll see this girl walking and she's got a dog, so I'll start talking with her about the dog. Like, man, the easiest pickup line here, it's not even a pickup line, it's just the easiest way to talk to a girl here is if they've got a dog, you just say, oh, excuse me, what do you call this dog breed in Portuguese? And, it's like guaranteed minutes of conversation no matter what. But yeah, I can't predict those things. And so for me, a long walk can be a very fruitful, fun thing, or it can be torture. It's usually not, or it can just be neutral. There's you never know what you're gonna get. Bag of Skittles. Karen's walks are like a bag of Skittles.
Yeah, okay, you can go the full gamut of potential negative to positive.
So what did you
I don't know.
Did you write down all of these things as you were thinking about them, or it was like they were too detailed and complex that you'd lose them all if you try to write them down, so you'd just try to juggle them all in your head? Or maybe even create an audio note or something? I don't know. What were you thinking?
So I don't know what is happening to my...
I can tell you. You're getting old. I don't know
what is happening to my... I don't know what's happening to my mind recollection, right?
Yeah.
But in some aspects of it, it's become not as great.
Damn. Oh, I was joking, but that actually does sound like getting old.
Well, no, it's weird because it is not going to end where you think it's going.
Okay.
The recollection part where kind of the mundane or the traditional, definitely I'm finding myself forgetting things, and I can only attribute that to the fact that like there's just a lot going on in life. And what I mean by that is often now I'll go to the shops and I'll just forget cheese, or I'll forget pies, or I'll forget, we needed this or we needed that. That's becoming more of a regular occurrence, but I can only say that that's happening because there's a lot going on. Maybe two, it's less of an importance, so I'm not prioritizing to remember. But on this particular walk, and in a lot of things that I'm doing in my life now, man, it's the inverse. My recollection for some things is becoming even crazier, like even better. So when you're saying about, did I note it down via audio or did I write it down? I can only explain, the only way I can explain it was so energizing and maybe different to my state of mind in the previous few weeks before that, because it was always just so tactical. But it was so refreshing to my brain maybe, or me, to think strategically, that I was able to recall almost like word for word, thought for thought, when I got back home later, like in the evening to write it down, and I was able to write down everything down perfectly as I'd remembered it. There was nothing forgotten. The way that I was doing the philosophy vertical reels, same. Nothing that needed to be recalled. And I don't know, I think I'd probably only attribute that to the fact that it's just novel, exciting. But I've also started to notice that in my usual way of doing work, I guess, in like a work stream perspective. Many years ago, when I was younger, the way that I would make sure that I wouldn't be missing things on a day-to-day basis is, like in my work day, I'd write down all of my line items of tasks I have to do, and then the importance and severity behind them, so that I would be able to write that down, and then I'd have other means to do other tasks that I had to do. Now, don't get me wrong, I still do a lot of that. Less writing it down, more in a digital sense. But I've started to do it less and just recall a lot of the important things that I have to do, kind of like in state, in memory, rather than getting them from somewhere that I've written them down. Now, I'm sure this is going to fail me at some point. I'm sure it's failed me somewhere else in the last couple of months that I'm just not even recalling right now. But yeah, for whatever reason, in that particular walk, all of those ideas, I was able to recall them really vividly and really well when I was rewriting them down, even to the point that I can almost recall each one of those goals that I wrote down, the song that I was listening to at the time, or where I was on the walk. It was like that level of vivid.
Cool, nice. All right, well, that's usually not what you hear people say.
Yeah. I thought it was going to go the other way, but no, it was one of those, which was I really enjoyed. So one of the other learnings, and maybe we'll get into, actually, just quickly, let's step into the Boostagram Lounge, call out some support, and then we'll get into this learnings piece. So
learnings and
three
implementations is the other thing we need to talk about.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, we'll talk about learnings and implementations. But Boostagram Lounge, and again, Boostagrams, you have the ability, folks, if you're out there participating in the Value for Value space, you can support us by sending through Satoshis with a message attached if you'd like, or also streaming through Satoshis on the good podcast apps out there that allow you to do that.
Absolutely.
Look, this supports us in continuing the podcast, being able to produce content for you, make the time for it, get the equipment that we need and all of that. And in the lounge, we just like to call out those who have been supporting us. It has been same sort of tried and true names that we've seen in the past, which honestly really can't say much more, but thank you in that regard. But we want to see new names. We want to see more people trialing out the platform and supporting. So if you want your name to be called out with a message attached, feel free to send through a Boostagram as well. So we've got three. One from Cole McCormick. He says, Karen and I are on eerily similar tracks with health and training revelations. When you come to LA, I'll show you around. That's very cool. That's 5,492 sat sent using Fountain.
Thank you, Cole. That's his favorite number boost there. I can't remember it was from a poster that he had on his wall. I think it was Star Wars related, maybe. But anyway, that number's special to him. So thank you for that, Cole. And yeah, definitely keen. I'm probably right after this, I'm gonna start looking at flights of when I'll actually get to LA, rough timings, things like that. I've invited Cole to go to VCon with me as well, so we'll probably do that together.
Well, there's going to be some T-Pain and there's going to be some training revelations.
T-Pain.
It sounds like.
T-Pain.
Thanks, Cole. And then we got two from Peter. So we got two. The first one here, it's a row of ducks, 2,222 sats using Fountain. He says, I like the idea of taking a digital detox from podcasts and the internet. I haven't done that in a while, but I have an old flip phone I might just pop my SIM card into for a while this summer. It's funny how the spell gets broken after you walk away for a while. Also, glad to hear you're loving handstand camp.
Thank you, Peter. I've got a backup old phone here as well, which my brother has kindly let me use in case of emergencies here. And I've been tempted to just bust it out, especially when I'm in Rio and people are. Look, it's hard to get a feel for how dangerous Rio is because I know it'll be bad because it's a touristy place. So I'm gonna get treated like a fucking dollar sign, which I hate, absolutely hate. But yeah, the scaling down your phone is is a good way. Another little fun tip that I've been doing. I got rid of Instagram off of my phone, and then people are still like, oh, what's your thing, or add me, or I'll add you, or something like that. And so I needed to bring it up, and just using the website version of it on Google Chrome or whatever, you can still log in, but it still has the functionalities, but it's not smooth, and it stops you from using it. But you can still use it if you do need to, or if it's like semi inconvenient for you to not have it. So there's a little fun hack there where you can still have access to it, but it's kind of a diminished experience, so you don't really want to use it.
Oh yeah, no, that's a really good idea. Have you thought about just having the app but just not making it easily available?
Oh, I've tried that, man. Yeah, I've put it way in the back, but I'd find myself going to it. So yeah, I find it easier just to get rid of them. And look, I'm sure in a year's time it'll probably be back on my phone again, because I'll have thought of some reason for why it's essential that I use it and need it on there. But I'm enjoying my I wouldn't call it extended detox at the moment. What would I call it? It's because it's not like as intense as like a retreat where I just got rid of everything, but the afterglow of it, the after effect is still. Am I radiating, Juan, from through the screen? I probably am, and that essence is still with me of like, yeah, fuck this social media stuff. I don't need it. Like, it's not helpful. It's not helping me get where I want to get.
Yeah, fair. See, I debate that. I debate it because I think in two different ways, or maybe just one different way. I think there can be a lot of good value. There can be a lot of goodness that can come from it, but it has to be controlled very well, or else the fine line between value and fun spills over into wasted time and self-loathing by comparison. That can very quickly spiral out of control if you don't manage it well, and then again in managing it well, you're just walking a tightrope that's very easy to fall off. So I was going to give you lots of examples for people at home of when I've been using the Instagram over the last couple of days and weeks, where I go, man, that was pretty good. I got a reply from Chris Williamson, and I got a potential. I am meeting him come November at the end of the year, and I thought of ways potentially get him on the podcast. But so I could say, there's some value there. However, I could very easily tell you some days where I got lost in the infinity scroll, and I felt like, I could have been reading at that point. That's one of those days I didn't do my reading. So it goes both ways. It's a tight, very, very, very fine line.
I've usually been good with the comparison one. I don't find myself comparing myself too much to others. Even the best hand balances, when I look at them and see some of the crazy stuff that I am pretty sure I'll never be able to do, I go, yeah, they've also. I rationalize the reason why they're at that level and go, they've been doing it for 15 years more than I have and ever will. For me, I think it's like the passive stuff. It's just the small. Like I said, I tried 9gag just before these episodes, and there was probably about 5 funny things, and then I got to like 6 sad things in a row, and I just went, ugh, gross. Nah, get rid of it. It's not really social media, but that's honestly how I use social media, because I'm pretty much a lurker the whole time. I don't really post stuff.
Actually, that's true of me too. I do post sometimes. Well, obviously post some things myself, and sometimes I comment on things, but very, very few and far between in comparison to a lot of other people, I guess, who are utilizing it in that way.
Yeah,
and the way that I meant it, by the way, for comparison, which it is probably even more amusing, is that the comparison that I meant for me personally is not a comparison of, oh, this person's doing this or this person's doing that, but it's quite often when I'll see someone lifting, or someone doing handstands, or someone doing pick whatever at a really high domain, and then my immediate thought would be like, damn, maybe next month I should focus in on doing that because that looks really cool. I want to get better at that. So yeah, and that's where I can derail goals completely, because I just chase the next shiny thing. So that's more where it hits me.
Yeah, that's your personality and the problems that come with your personality.
Exactly. Now, the final one that we have here is another one from Peter, another row of ducks, 2,222 sats and using Fountain. And he says, this is how every ETF should be built. In-kind withdrawals are a must.
Let's go.
So that's obviously attributed to the conversation with Jeff. One thing that, Karen, I guess this is for you to know. I know you haven't listened to that, but maybe for others, I'll just restate it as well. So the ETF, in particular, Monochrome's one here in Australia, the Spot Bitcoin ETF, you can essentially invest and get, you're investing into an ETF, which you have a one-to-one mapping to Bitcoin that's held in a trust. It was called a bear trust at like a reputed Bitcoin holder, which is Gemini. And at any point in time, you can extract that Bitcoin directly to essentially a wallet of your choosing. So, you currently, I guess the process for you and me for many years would have been, you go down a path of obtaining Bitcoin, you move it to a wallet, cold wallet, and then you hide it away. That's it. So in this, I guess, with this particular path, you can use an ETF, probably an easier way, I guess, of obtaining Bitcoin. And if you ever need, you have the, I guess, in-kind withdrawals to be able to withdraw that Bitcoin at any point that you want.
Well,
the kicker though,
that's the same. It's just corporations can do it now, or it's essentially the same thing.
Well, it is. Well, I think what really struck to me is that it's easy for people who are maybe a little bit intimidated of, wanting to have to go figure out a cold wallet or have to go through an exchange that perhaps maybe they're blocked from a bank or something like that.
And stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of reasons. However, and this is the kicker that I didn't realize this, but at least for Australia, I can't say this for other countries, but if you utilize Monochrome's ETF, Sport Bitcoin ETF, and you put in, let's just say, 100 grand, and you at some point in 5 years' time, you want to extract that Bitcoin, you can get that Bitcoin directly to you. But at that point that you do that sale, that Bitcoin, it's a non-taxable event when you receive that. So it's only when you then subsequently want to transform that into a fiat currency, if you wish to do that, that's when you pay tax. So I didn't actually realize that. So I was
okay, yeah, that kind of, I could see a use case for that, how that could be useful.
Yeah. So I was like, very interesting. But in any case, Peter, thank you very much for those two boosts there. Cole McCormick, thank you very much, mate. Hopefully, Karen's starting to get some details around when he's starting to come on over into LA as well. I'm sure you guys will enjoy that. Enjoy the conversations around health and training, I'm sure.
Actually, no, I'm just thinking that's still the same. If I buy 100 grand worth of Bitcoin on a exchange, I leave it there, and for 5 years, and get lucky that exchange doesn't go down, and then I take out the Bitcoin, that's non-taxable either. It's still the same. So yeah, nothing's really changed. It's just for corporations and for the financial world to get into it. Yeah,
the main difference, I guess, is the security that comes with, I guess, some of these ETFs. Well, not all, but at least with Monochrome, it is underneath the ASIC. Regulated. It is regulated. So if at one point in time, like you said, if you had money on the exchange, which, look, I'm going to recommend don't keep fucking coins in your exchanges, people.
Not smart.
But if an exchange goes down, or if it gets locked away because it actually doesn't meet regulations, then yeah, you're shit out of luck. So I guess it's just that extra level of security that you can have in there, with the similar use cases that you may be finding in the existing market. So
sure.
Hopefully,
cool.
all I thought was hopefully it's like another event that helps people be able to partake in the, I don't know, in the ecosystem that is Bitcoin. But we'll see what that actually means.
Sounds good, man.
Time goes on. But okay, so hit me with some of the other learnings and thoughts that you've had over the last, I guess, couple of weeks or maybe even month or so.
Yeah, well, I gave you a lot of my learnings last week from the retreat. So, Juan, you hold my life in your hands right now. I'm going to ask you a question, and how you answer this next question could be the most radical change in my life. Are you prepared for this responsibility?
Oh no. Here we go. Let's do
No,
it.
this is one I think you'll probably know. So, does eating before a workout help in recovery for the next day? Because me personally, I don't believe it results in improved performance. Despite, I'm sure there's all sorts of studies saying that people have better performance if they eat, 2.5 hours, having this exact amount of carbs, this amount of grams of protein, whatever, before a workout. That certainly doesn't, I've never noticed that for myself, but does it help recovery statistically if you eat X amount of protein before a workout? What's the science say?
No, definitely not. But I was going to say that one aspect of what you said, I think, is slightly maybe misguided in that eating pre a workout or pre an activity, for you, the systems that you're using in your workouts are not really in a requirement for any particular feeding or nutrition specifics, right? Because your workouts, and again, if you haven't heard us describe sort of Karen's workouts, you're largely doing very short bursts of energy or short bursts of endurance with very long recovery periods. You're not necessarily burning a lot of calories in your workouts. That's not what your workouts are optimizing for. But they're very long sessions, and you're reaching muscular endurance failures. That's what you're really hitting. But that's whether you eat or not eat beforehand, I don't think it really would affect the performance, right? If you were instead doing
ultra marathons,
sprints,
or sprints,
ultra marathon sprinting or something where it's like, you kind of need the fuel. Absolutely, you're gonna absolutely be noticing a difference. But for your style of training, no way. That's kind of like, it's the equivalent of saying, if I eat a more nutritious, rich meal before a yoga session, am I going to have a more productive one? Not really. Like, it's probably going to be worse.
I reckon a lot of yoga people would disagree with you, man. There's definitely not that much science in the yoga world.
Right, gotcha.
But the recovery aspect, that's the thing that's because that's the one where I wouldn't be able to know, and so I would probably be more relying on science saying if you eat protein or if you eat this before a does it matter when you ingest the calories and the type of calories? Does it matter when that occurs during the day? And I imagine most of your recovery is done whilst sleeping. Like, honestly, my knowledge of this stuff, once upon a time I knew a little bit, but I have not gone down the science optimizing route for exercise and physiology and stuff like that. Not at all.
Yeah, well, it gets kind of interesting for you if I really started to think about it, because different modalities. If you were running or doing high intensity workouts, probably part of this you'd hit in that you start to deplenish your glycogen levels, right? And you have to fill that back up with some level of carbohydrate. If you did, so I'm just looking at different angles. If you were to consume carbohydrates beforehand or nutrition for that regard, you're only really, you're not really satisfying anything, because you want to refill those glycogen levels while you're working out or afterwards. So looking at that angle from a glycogen carbohydrate, no, you can just do it during or afterwards. That's more important than it is beforehand. But even then, those are like short term, or you're talking over like the next day. Short term, it's like, have it during or afterwards from a carbohydrate perspective, but you wouldn't really bother doing it beforehand. That's just if you like it, if you want to do it. But from a recovery perspective, not really. The other side of things is more the recovery, I think, that you're talking about from an overnight, more around the muscular perspective, or even if it's a muscular, maybe ligament or other aspects of the body.
Yeah.
And then even then, I'd say, largely it's going to be your sleep that actually matters more than anything. If you're not having adequate amounts of like nutritional food, just in like completeness, like just forget before or afterwards, if you're just not eating much, kind of like what you would do on a extended fast over a couple of days, you're still getting a quite sensible amount of recovery through your sleep. Because if you're looking towards a bigger musculus, bigger muscles, it's going to be the sleep during your micro tears healing up. That's when you're going to see that increase in the fibers of your muscles and the growth that comes from that, or the strengthening and all the thickening of the muscle fibers. Yes, it then leverages the fact that you need enough protein in your body to be able to freaking do that. But your recovery is happening more so during your sleep. There are definitely things in nutrition that help in performance, I guess. Like, you need the right amounts of, or enough potassium, magnesium, calcium, sodium, all of those things to keep your body performing. Like, you need electrolytes to have, like sodium in particular in your body to have contractions and the ability to move things. But in saying all of those things, all of the things you can do during and afterwards, there's no real that I could think, and maybe it's out there. Maybe I'll go and look it afterwards. But I would be willing to put a good bet that nutrition prior to a workout isn't really doing anything from a recovery perspective.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. You've saved me. That was the answer I wanted to hear. Because Lucas has been prompting me. He's like, dude, you gotta eat more. You gotta eat, like, even if it's just a couple of eggs and a banana, you should be eating that before a workout. And for me, I would only do that if it was good for recovery, because I'm pretty sure for performance it doesn't affect me one way or the other. It doesn't. It's much like caffeine. I remember Brendan was telling me he was drinking these like caffeine shots. If you've seen them before, like the just tiny little containers. I have. They seem to be popular in the gyms nowadays. I see them in the vending machines. And he gave me one once, and he was kind of like he'd get buzzed from it a half an hour later, and I'm just there going, I feel the same, man. I don't notice any difference. It's the same when I drink soft drinks. If I ever do, I don't. I would maybe concede if I had a full cup of coffee that that amount perhaps could get me to like go straight, to go kind of like get buzzed or something. But just from my experiments with caffeine, I found caffeine doesn't really do much for me. Experiments in the past of eating before workouts doesn't improve performance. And Lucas saying it gives you as energy as well. Hompado, KKKKK. Well, hompado, it doesn't feel like it gives me energy. Therefore, I don't feel like I'm getting a better performance. So I've not noticed that, and I'm backing that up with my own statistics and data. So that's kind of my general approach to all of this. But I would agree that I probably do need to eat just a bit more in general, but not. Yeah, the timing of it was what I was kind of interested about.
Yeah, prior to recovery, I don't think it'd be much, but from a I think the difference comes in the performance. So yeah, especially, but it's performance, but when it matters, right? For the modalities, again, ultra running, high intensity workouts, for sure, then like you really should be talking about some good nutrition when it comes in and around intra, beforehand, afterwards, more for performance and doing things. But again, and it goes to Lucas and yourself, handstands don't take that much energy in the sense of the intense muscular endurance that you're doing over a minute, let's just say, or a couple of movements. It isn't taking out a hell of a lot of glycogen from the body. Yes, it is breaking down the muscle on an endurance basis. And then once that hits, that's fine. But it's one of those workouts. It's kind of similar to powerlifting, like pure strength powerlifting, when you're doing really high end weight with really low reps. You're not hitting necessarily muscular endurance, nor are you hitting like energy depletion. You're probably barely utilizing calories. But what you're doing is a lot of power, right? It's a lot of intensity. And that's very, very different outputs of usage, similar to like a handstand. So yeah, for you, man, honestly, I'd just say, unless you're trying to get bigger, right? Unless you're trying to get bigger muscles, then you can build up muscle endurance and the power within pretty much with how you are. As long as you feel energized enough, then that's totally fine.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess just getting onto the actual things that I've been doing. So I have, as I mentioned, joined the yoga studio just to kind of force me to do a bit more stretching in a kind of more intense way. I've been altering my workouts to include some back bending and some Mexican handstands, which I just do not like, man. That they're hard and they hurt. They hurt in kind of a gross way. I don't know. Maybe the equivalent would maybe be for some people would be like a front squat or something, where it just feels kind of like ugh. I don't like this in this position. I'm sure everyone's got that one exercise which they kind of avoid because it just feels a bit weird or something like that. I have been eating more. I am at this very moment. I'm tosheo. I'm very full. I'm full of feijoada. Lucas has given me shit in the chat. I said I need to get stronger and I need to get and you need muscle to get more muscle. You need to eat. Well, man, I ate 3 plates of the feijoada today, and I'm pretty sure I only saw him eat 2. So, who's the big boy now? Hey, it's this big boy over here. So I have been doing that, and I have.
But one aspect of it, I was gonna say just quickly though, I disagree though as well. You don't actually need bigger muscles to get bigger strength. And I think that's a myth.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
At least it seems intuitive, but it's not technically correct, right? Because you can build up what it would be more so the thickness of a muscle, the ability for it to trigger to create power without it getting bigger, right? So you can have, and you see this all the time when you see powerlifters that are under 70 or under 75 or under 81, they're way stronger than you or me will ever be, and they're smallish, but it's because the type of training that they're doing is building for that. If you see me in person, yes, I look like I've got a lot of muscle, but I'm probably not as strong as it could potentially be if I'd been, pure powerlifting focus, and I'd also be a lot smaller, right? So it also comes to the type of training that you're doing. Bodybuilders are not the strongest people out there, even though they are strong. Obviously, muscles do give some strength, but it doesn't mean they're going to be the strongest in the world. So I'd say while it seems intuitive, it's slightly incorrect that more muscles means better strength for what you're trying to do.
Juan's big boobies get in the way when he's trying to clean and jerk. All those big muscles don't help.
Absolutely, all the time.
And just to add validity to what you're saying, over the years when I was tracking my weight and also calorie input in, I would notice that on kind of like a general type of trend, if I missed workouts in a week and I would eat the same no matter what. It didn't matter if I had a workout. It didn't matter if I had a double workout. If I missed workouts, it would be very rare that I would change the actual calories in. And I never noticed any real impact on at least my weight from that in terms of my metabolism. Putting on, like, I'm eating too many calories, I'm going to store it as fat. It didn't really seem to do that. So, which goes to the point that, yeah, I'm probably not burning that many calories when I'm doing these workouts. And then, there's the fun stuff, like when I did half marathons whilst not eating for 5 days. So, oh man,
I can't remember
crazy
that.
shit. Yeah. What do you think of those times? Do you kind of reflect back to that place? Well, we're never going back there. We're probably never living it together again. At the time, it was like, I remember it would be like, because I remember I was kind of like striving for, definitely striving more for the podcast in terms of making that as like a full thing. I was getting to like, maybe not a Chris Williamson level, but somewhere between where we are now and where he is. And I'd just like look around this place and I'd be like, look at this fucking shit ass place with the backyard which has not been mowed and has the couch outside which Juan threw out there, and the weeds growing up, and the scratched pots and do you have any fond memories of that place? What are your memories of there?
Oh, I mean, there's definitely some fun memories.
And it was the whole COVID period as well, right? So it was just kind of a weird, intense place. that places the memories for me.
Yeah, a lot of that. From a COVID, well, I'm just remembering that that was really one of those change of the tide moments when I did a lot of training outdoors, where I was running a lot and using the pull-up bar
Yep.
when gyms were closed down and stuff like that. Which that's probably one of the bigger core memories I have of that particular location as well. Just where I run, where I go train, and just coming back and always. And I mean, this would I'm sure would have never changed, but if whenever I live on my own like that, it's very I'm not going to say stoic.
A
Because we
Spartan.
didn't do so yeah, spar's probably probably better wording with it, which is kind of similar to most people, I guess, to most, I reckon, guys.
Oh
Most
yeah,
guys,
the rice, beans, and
you'll
chicken.
naturally, yeah, exactly. Nice and simple, nice and easy. But inversely, the nice and simple and easy is good, right? It gives you a lot of happiness because there's so not low expectation, but there's a low level of things that can go wrong, as per se. I've only just started listening to a podcast of Wim Hof with he's on the Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, and he was talking about how how happy he was when he was living in a squalor and living as a squatter, in comparison to a lot of the things that happened afterwards as well. So, it's you make your happiness in the spaces that you are, and sometimes the simpler it is, the easier it is to find some joy and happiness or contentment. Maybe that's a better word for it.
As you're saying this,
No, it was good.
I'm looking at the screen, and so behind me there's a picture on the wall, and I can see that the picture is actually coming out of its frame, and it's making me like already go like, this is why I don't put things on my walls, because they just end up disappointing me. And I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video where it's so there's like internet lore. It was a dating site before Tinder, before any of the apps, or probably before the mobile phones, and I think they used VHS, and so it would be like a black girl, and they'd get her to say one line, and then say another line, and then they'd do like an action pose or something. And so there's this black girl, and she says something like 5 scores and 6, but all put together as one. I don't need friends. They just disappoint me. And then just this karate pose. And man, that was my exact reaction on Friday, which was the girl had disappointed me the night before. I went to a yoga class and it was cancelled and no one told me. So I was just like there lonely, like looking through the doors, trying to see if anyone was in. And then Lucas was late for the session. So I was just like, I was identifying hard with that girl going, man, I don't need people. They just disappoint me.
And then Karen strikes his fucking karate pose.
Yeah. Jeez. Very good. What have you been doing in terms of like implementing things in your life? Have you changed any stuff recently?
A little bit. Like in some parts, no. In some parts, yeah. There's been a lot of, again, I was saying a little bit earlier in the previous conversation, that a lot of activities, which made things busy. So there's just been, whether from a work perspective, or just life perspective, and training, and being a dad, lots on. I guess one of the shifts I have made, which has been good, has been trying keyword trying, to reduce a lot of the unnecessary things that I was finding myself still doing, the usuals, socials, probably like keeping engaged with more people that I really needed to. This was a goal I had for quite a few months ago, where it was kind of just give more time to those that actually matter, as opposed to the hundreds of others that I could potentially be giving time to. So there was that bit of a shift and change to it as well. But it was actually someone sent me this, which I'd also listened to it from the podcast when it originally came out. It was a Chris Williamson and Hormozy chat. I think it was their first one that they ever did. And one of the pieces Chris brought up right on that one was like a quote, and then either you've heard this before or maybe something similar, right? Which is, you've already achieved the goals that you told yourself would make you happy. And re-listening to that again and going around, like, we were just talking about the fucking the house that we used to live in, right? And I think at the moment, we have things like 8 paintings on the wall and 4 more paintings are just sitting there to be put up on the wall. We have all this furniture that hasn't even been built yet that we need to build. We have a ton load of things going. Like we were having a fire last night inside of the house. And it's all of these little items that, again, probably many years ago, I would have said to myself, when I achieve those things, man, that's going to be so good, so content, so happy.
Sitting around the fire with the family.
At my previous annual goals. Yeah, looking back at previous annual goals and what I found, and again, not all the time, but this is just where the active mind goes to and why I guess beneficial with things like walks like that is me and many more people are like this with this sort of mindset where I'll go, okay, I've still got to think about, I want to do this video thing next, or I want to do this creation next. And you have to give yourself almost a permission all the time to just be present and be okay with, this is it. This was the goals. There isn't any more goals that I need to pursue further than this. In reality, why not just enjoy it? So, a big part of it now has been the reduction in quite a lot of things to enable me to just be, once again, present and accepting of the stuff that's here and now, and going, you know what? Yeah, this is good. Like, why am I even thinking about pursuing something else for the time being, or at the speed that I need to? So that's been the biggest thing. It's the kind of just shifting the time domain for a lot of things that I've been thinking about. Where in the past, the usual Peter Thiel, what could you do in 6 months? What's something you're planning for in 10 years that you could do in 6 months, and how you would do it? Sure, there's lots of ways you could do that, and there's time and place for that. And I think it's more the realization of, I'm not in a time and place like that now. Now I'm in a time and place where, hey, what's the thing that I can do, and I can slowly progress towards it in 10 years. And that might mean I'm not doing it every day to pursue it, but it might be, every fortnight. Okay, I'll do a little bit of this. Cool. And then every fortnight over 10 years, you'll get there. But there's very much that. The other one as well, which is the really, really big one, is the slow realization, and it kind of came weirdly off the back of that run where I sort of, rubbed my legs together and made it unable for me to go and run for a week. So there's nothing I can
funny
really
thing
do about
is,
that apart from...
When you set this up now, I have to think like, all right, is this the run where he hurt his foot? Is this the run where he twisted his balls? Or is this the run where he rubbed his legs together?
Yeah. You got fucking running's injuring me more than I thought it was going to be the case. But one of the things I've been thinking about was, and I probably will apply, is taking a little bit of a step back on the heavy pursuit that I've had for the last few years on training, where, I did like a 8-week phase for powerlifting, a 12-week phase for running, and a 6-week phase for gymnastics and stuff. Obviously still training. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to stop training for sure. No, that's never going to happen. But changing the focus to, and even part of what you were saying, where you were seeing some, not injuries, but soreness in your wrists and stuff, putting almost a whole year of proactive stabilization of all of the little bits and bobs in the body that just usually don't get the love. That being, and I had it written down, but I could bring it up. It's more like, my forearms, my wrists, my ankles, your quadratus lumbaris, or whatever that's called, your hips, some of the rear delt muscles. Just a lot of things that, by the by, from a week to week, I'm never going to focus on them, right? I'm never going to focus on them. And this is my chance of going, you know what, this is now the time to start putting some energy towards really long-term living, mobility type of modes. And I guess that kind of describes the mindset as being as of late on kind of being just happy of where everything is at today, and also starting to realize that, I can pursue things at a slower pace now. I'm okay with not, getting to whatever place first or 10th or 100th. It'd just be like, yeah, I just want to get there eventually while I'm enjoying the stuff that I'm doing now. So, that's been the biggest, I guess, revelation, to be honest.
Love to hear it, man. I know that won't last, that you're absolutely going to get back into chasing something again, but enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah. Well, and that's a really good point. Even in that, it makes me also consider how I establish as well goals moving forward, so that they're not attributed to like a hard line of I've got to do this or I've got to do that. Another one that I'll note of the goals coming up for the next year is there's another running goal in there, like a running
Again.
But again,
He's a sadist.
but
He's a sadist people.
No,
he's sorry, masochist. Masochist. Jesus.
But in a bit of a change in maybe the way that the goal pursuit is, I'm not aiming to achieve a distance. I'm not aiming to do a competition. I'm not aiming to do a race. Instead, it's more in the pursuit. I've still got to clean it up, but it's more in the pursuit of go on different routes, go in different terrains, do it within groups, do it with people. So it's
my God, Juan, I can tell you what you're going to do. I know what you're going to do, man. I know exactly what you're going to do. This is exactly what Tanya Hall was saying about how she trained for fucking ultra marathons, dude. You are going to do an ultra marathon, 100%.
Oh no!
It's set in stone, man. You don't have a choice anymore.
Oh no!
Oh Lord! When you were saying that, I just went, "That is exactly what Tanya was saying."
Well, there you go. Maybe it's written in the stars. It's going to be done. It's going to be one of those. But so the stuff that I was like playing around in my mind was not even doing events, but just doing them on the side. So the Gold Coast Marathon is on next weekend, or like the half.
Yeah, it's July, right?
Marathon. Yeah. And then I think the Brisbane Bridge to Brisbane September, and then the Sydney and the Melbourne races are like in a few weeks' time or a few months' time. And I was like, it'd be real fun, like genuinely fun, would just be running a half marathon at the same time that this fucking like Gold Coast Marathon is, just doing it
on your own,
a random mountain or something on my hand, not even doing it with people, just being like, yep.
No, you should do it on the streets next to it, so you're like dodging cars.
I thought that too. I thought, why don't I just rock up to the event and just run? And like, what are they going to tell me? Like, I'm not allowed to run next to them and stuff like that. Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
I'll run on the beach. I'll run a half marathon on the beach.
Oh, that'd be so funny. Yes, I would. Man, I would get a bike and chase you, and with a GoPro, and just. Oh jeez.
But and I think there's a pretty massive thing happening in the coming year as well, which I won't talk about just now, not for a little bit. But Karen is aware of that, and that.
The bull market. That's what's coming. Let's go.
Yeah, well, it's money, all right. It's definitely money, but it's probably not in the right. It's not in the right way of where it's going.
No, that sounds like the bull market. Once all in on like the Hosky equivalent of, I don't know, the AVAX chain or something. So he's doomed.
Yeah. Or it could go the other way, and then it's gonna be wild. I'll send the Boostagram of like there'll be people will see. I'll send the Boostagram or something for like a 2 million sats Boostagram, and people will be like, "What the hell's going on?" Yeah. That's primarily, I guess, the thoughts that's swirling around my mind at the moment. But yeah, look, over the next couple of weeks, you'll see the annual goals conversation that we'll have. So look, next week, as Karen was stating, I'm going to be putting out a solo episode. It'll be a monthly summary again, kind of similar to how I've done it previously. Which will be fun. Honestly, I enjoyed recording those.
I enjoyed listening.
We'll probably catch up in the following week after that.
Absolutely.
And you'll probably see honestly, that one's probably going to be a good one for just a catch up on what you've been doing, and then I could probably talk through my annual goals, to be honest, because that'd bring us to mid-July.
That'd be pretty close. I mean,
it might be nice to.
You could maybe even do a solo episode of just your goals if you felt like it.
That's true. That's a good point as well.
Because I'm going to miss... I won't be here on the 21st, because I think that I'll be in Rio. I mean, I could maybe... let me know.
Okay.
We'll see.
No, I think that... Yeah, no, but that might be good. But yeah, in any case, look, we're still going to be putting out that weekly content on the main channel here. So whether it'll be solo episodes for myself or the combined conversations that myself and Karen are having, absolutely, we're going to be doing that. Just starting to wrap up this session as well. Once again, we are a Valley for Valley enabled show, podcast, content creators. In any case, it is an ability for you, the immortal at home, to sensory time, talent, treasure. Time you can really contribute by listening to the podcast, sharing it with people, clipping it if that's your thing. Talent, anything that we've been talking about, any ideas, if you have more precise thoughts about pre-workout nutrition when it comes to recovery, get that shit out of here. I don't even eat beforehand, man. I don't even eat beforehand. I normally wake up at 4 a.m. I don't.
You don't?
If anything.
There
So
you go.
I will tell you, for performance, maybe I'll have a banana if I'm really hungry. But even if I'm hungry, dude, I'll just go train. What is more of an important thing to me is intra-workout and post-workout, like food. That's more important. And even in saying that, it's not that important that I've been, like, it's not as important. I haven't put as much importance in that as I have in the many years beforehand. Now it's more, intra-workout's really important. And by that, I mean like the glycogen levels. So sugars, really, maltodextrin for me. Because usually my training session, I might do 40 minutes of weights, let's just say. By the end of that, I'll have used up quite a bit of high intensity energy. There's some depletion going on there. And maybe I want to do a 2K run or a 3K run afterwards. Usually I want to have some sugars in there before that run just to feel good. Otherwise, yeah, I'll start to feel pretty shit. So in any case,
there's a Jack.
Have any thoughts?
There's a Jack PGM, I believe that's his name, right? It's a YouTube channel.
It is.
I watched one of his videos today because it's a joint channel that Juan and I, and I think Juan watches them more than I do. And he had this chart of it's the standard bell curve, and like on the very left hand side, the dumb person is the new gym person coming in, and they're like, "Oh, training is good," and it's like, they're accurate in what they are trying to do because yes, training is good, and for them from 0 sessions a week to 1 session a week is going to massively give them huge performance. And then on the very right hand side of the curve is like these mass monsters who are like, training is good, and they just train so much and just try and eat as much as they can, and that's all they think about. And then in the middle of the chart is like the intermediate intellectual gym bro who's like, figuring out these curves of optimal training time, how many reps per set to get max, and they're like doing all these calculations and shit. And it's like, dude, you're just overthinking it, man. Like, just fucking train.
Absolutely. That's a progression, man. That's a progression in almost all things. It's, well,
I think I'm stuck at that.
It is very much
beginner stage. I don't think I'm going to skip to the mass monster eating stage, but nor am I going to progress up the curve to the overly intellectualizing training either. I'm just stuck in the beginner.
Yeah, honestly, I'd probably extend that one leg further and say the beginners like that. Whatever, just train. Do it in groups. Intermediate is, when you're trying to do all the graphs and charts and optimizations and betterment and food. The advanced is just do it for fun, do as much as possible, just work out hard. And again, there's all modalities. I think that there's like the next level beyond that, beyond the advanced, that very few people even want to go to. And it's, I guess, master or world class.
Yeah.
And then you go back up to like a high point, and then everything's precise, everything's full optimization for going from 99.9% to 99.98%.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Tiny little things that you do for improvement. And it absolutely, I'm telling you right now, it's absolutely not what I want to do with any of my modalities moving forward. Like, I don't want to get to that level. So I'd be happy to be just a little bit beyond the intermediate. So I'm not, obsessing over the details, but getting to the point of like, whatever, just do it and just train well and do it in good form and stuff like that. Yes. Anyways, that's the talent portion. Obviously, if
you've got good memes, send them through.
Exactly. And the last one, treasure. So as we talked about and called out in the Boostagram Lounge, you can support us by sending us through some Boostagrams, Study Satoshis, and you can attach a comment to it as well. You can be streaming in at the same time. You can't use the PayPal link. Of course, we do prefer you to send through some Boostagrams. It is, or it's just stream. That's what really we prefer. We see that being the future way of being supported on the podcast platforms. And look, it might even be worth us doing a bit of a maybe after VCon, actually. After you go to VCon, Karen, I think it'll be worth touching base on the Valley for Valley concept.
Well, I'm going to meet Dave and
see what people say.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I know there's discussions right now about I don't think if it's about lightning, but it's maybe about how the way lightning is used. Because lightning, for those who don't know, is the kind of underlying basis of how you can send money back and forth. Yeah, and it's just like the core infrastructure of Lightning channels and things like that maybe is not the best way to go, and there might be other similar, basically trying to do the same concept but in a technically a better way or an easier way for people. So I think there's just some changes coming for. I think the core concepts are still exactly the same. I still think value for value is content creators are like dying and needing this stuff, man. They're getting hammered in all fronts. I still see just absurd behavior just trying to monetize their products because they just don't have any good alternatives. So I think the whole system is the philosophical system. It's the implementation into reality is the tricky one. But yeah, an update on that. For the moment, go to mereimmortalspodcast.com/support, and that'll give you a bit of a intro guide on what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Let's leave it there. Thank you very much, Mere Immortalites, for sticking around for this big old session.
Thank you, Lucas and Cole in the chat.
Reach out to all the various ways that you can. Unless you're going to tell me that's misinformation, then fuck yeah, go away. No, I'm kidding. Feel free to send it through. We'll confirm and check receipts, and
I'll check it with AI.
We're always here, happy to learn. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Immortalites 1 out.
Going out. Bye. Bye.